Abdulla. Okay. So, so our next presenter is Abdulla. Ammar Abdulla. Okay. So go ahead.
This one? Yes, yes, yes.
This is yours, right? Easier accessible.
Thank you. No, don't take that. No. Okay, please.
Yes. I think you just do 2 pages. That would be easier. Can you do that?
So slides. I don't know how to do that here. Just because.
It's okay, it's okay.
Yeah, you can go.
We just zoom in. Yeah.
No, it's PDF.
Can you read that?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, just want you to. You can use this one. Just enter. Just wait. Switch. Yeah. Okay. So hello everyone. My name is Ammar Eissa Mohammed Abdulla. I'm a research assistant at the Sharjah Academy for Astronomy, Space Sciences and Technology. I'm also a master's student at the University of Sharjah in Space Sciences and Astronomy. Today our presentation is not going to be very technical like the other presentations, not so much science. I'm just going to be explaining for you as an entity and our past activities in the 6 months that we had. This is some sort of a semi-annual report that we had, and I didn't have time to prepare anything scientific, so I thought it would be good to let you know what we're up to. So. No, sorry. You just put the mouse on. Yeah. Okay. So this presentation is going to be divided into, say, 4 sections. First section is the introduction. I'm just going to let you know what who was in the team and the Sharjah Optical Observatory in the academy, and I'm going to tell you about the research papers that we have published and the ones that are still in progress. After that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the public outreach, which is embodied in astronomical observation trips in the UAE, and open house observatory, open house events also in the UAE, and some TV appearances. After that, I'm going to move into academic engagement, conferences, participations, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the observation and the collaboration that we have. So this is the Sharjah Optical Observatory team. It's made up of the Chancellor of the University of Sharjah, Professor Hamid Al-Naimi, Professor Mashmoor Al-Wardat. He was the one explaining Wardat method just earlier today. And Mr. Muhammad Talata, research assistant, my colleague. He was supposed to be here today during the school, but he told me to apologize. He wouldn't be able to make it for circumstances, and this is me. Wow. Okay. So since I joined the academy about 6 months ago, I've been working a lot on lunar impact events. So what we do is we set 8 to 10 days to observe the darker side of the moon. We set a small but powerful CCD camera into a 14-inch telescope in the Sharjah Lunar Impact Observatory. So 8-10 days is ideal, but normally we don't get as much as that, we get less. I would observe for around 6-7 hours per day, trying to get the differential brightness, because when a meteorite hits the moon barely has any atmosphere. So it hits directly. And then what I try to observe is the luminous transient differential brightness, which is very difficult because it's going to be very small and it's going to go for a very small period of time. So in this paper, I explain the instrumentation that we use, the observation process, and the analysis process. For direct imaging, we use SharkCap, which is some sort of a streaming kind of platform software, and then we take the videos and analyze them by LunarScan, which is a NASA operated software. The problem here is the camera records at 25 frames per second, if I remember correctly, so the videos are going to be really heavy. So we need to analyze as soon as possible once we get the recordings in. The second paper is atmospheric and fundamental parameters of 8 nearby multiple stars. This was worked on by Professor Mashroor. The papers that we have in progress, we're currently working on. There are 4 papers about the Sharjah Optical Observatory. First one is just a general descriptions and overview. Second one is the telescope and instrumentation. Third one is photometry of binary and variable stars and spectroscopy of multiple and variable stars. This paper is really interesting because it's some sort of a collaboration that we tried to do with observers in Kuwait, observers in Bahrain. It's called the observation of the most recent supernova, SN 2022 HRS in the Arab countries. Source of collaboration and inspiration. So, in the Arab world, we don't have much of collaboration, which is really sad. And we tried to kind of fix this with this paper. Guess what happened? This paper failed. It never saw light. So that's fine. We're going to try and do it again.
Is this politics or something?
Sorry, say again?
Because of politics or
Maybe just a little bit. The problem is, I think.
not technically, that's the point.
Sorry?
Not technically, we feel technically.
Maybe some technicalities, but politics just. Anyways. The problem is, I think, with Arabs or Arab scientists is we sometimes agree to disagree.
Can I comment on this?
Yeah.
It's like, I also shared my same view with Ammar, because it's like the best way to visualize how much Arabs, or like at least my community, like to share information and collaborate comparing to other districts at the open source project. Open source project means that we are sharing our project with you and let us all collaborate and it's all our project. But it's like our project is like, no, this is my project, it's mine. Yeah. So it's like open source project as it's some kind of projection on how much people are there. Sorry for that.
No, that's good. Thank you very much, actually. So yeah, that's not the end of the world, honestly. For me, at least, I would like to push harder for this to work, because we have all sorts of collaborations with Europe, and we take data from US, we take data from OISA and IOTA. So I think the Arab world should come together at some point. I will be pushing for that. I'll email you. Okay. Yeah, I have a few papers that I submitted for conferences, because in my bachelor's I worked on astrometric microlensing in black holes. So I didn't want to stop there because I really enjoyed the course. I really enjoyed working with microlensing and black holes. So I applied for a few conferences. First one was the Multifaceted Universe Theory and Observation. It was last May, if I remember correctly. It was supposed to be held in Russia. Obviously, I didn't go there because it's not safe. So I did the presentation online. And yeah, we also have a few papers submitted for the General Assembly, the International Astronomical Union, which is going to be in Busan. Saeed is going to present there. I think Professor Abdul is going to be there also. I'm going to present a paper on lunar impact events taken in 2020, which is the first few months of operation for the observatory. And we recorded around 4 or 5 events during that year. So I'll be talking about that in Korea, inshallah. Let's see. Okay, this is public outreach, but you can't see it. I think it's very important for us to push for this space or astronomy culture in the UAE, because also in the Arab world, but especially in UAE, because we feel like it's kind of weak, one could say. Because we see a lot of passionate people, we see a lot of people who want to get into astronomy and actually don't find a way to do it, don't find the right guidance, don't find the right people. It just seems so hard for them from the outside. There's so much math, so much astronomy is very difficult, blah, blah, blah. So I feel like they should come to us, and we should be the team that provides help. So one of the ways we do that is we take, as you can see, there are so many people, so many passionate people, so many young kids, so many teenagers. We go on in Wadi Shawka in Sharjah. We take 4 or 5 portable telescopes. We spread them in the back here in Wadi, and we get most of the time we get photometric nights because it's a really nice location. Sometimes we're unlucky, but we try to show people what we see because we think it's really interesting. And since they're passionate, I think they would find it also interesting. So we've been getting really positive feedback. We've been getting support from the university. Second initiative is the open house observatory events. We try to do that every month or every other month, but the problem is the observatory is in the middle of the city, so light pollution is not our best friend, so sometimes we do it every 3 months. As we try to do it as much as we can. You'll see a few pictures of the open house. This is Professor Mashhoor. This is Mr. Mohammed, as you can see, young kid. He knows so much about astronomy. You would be surprised how much this kid knows about astronomy. He came up to me and he said, you know, Betelgeuse is going to die soon. And I was like, how do you know that? You should be at school. But yeah, it's just very nice seeing how young kids could be also passionate. It was just fascinating. So I think we should do more to help these kids. Yes, this is the first time I was ever hosted in a TV interview. It's not a very astrophysical topic. It's doomsday talk. I was hosted by Al-Dhafra TV to talk about doomsday clock, which is a bulletin made by a few university PhD students, I think, just describing or correlating how nuclear warfare is getting bad, climate change is getting so bad, and how we're close to the end of the world. And they wanted me to explain. I don't know why. I'm just an astrophysicist. Oh my God. So I tried my best explaining, and yeah. This interview was of relevance. We were talking about the trips that I just explained to you. They were asking many questions because it's not the usual thing in the UAE for observation trips to take place as often as we do them. Yes, in this interview, me and Professor Mashhoor were invited to explain, to talk about the master course that we have, which is I'm a part of. It's a 2-year course. We take taught courses in the first 3 semesters, and at the end we submit a proposal and then a thesis at the last semester, which is the most typical masters in the UAE. This is the academic engagement that we had in the past 6 months. I mentioned this International Astronomical Union General Assembly. Mr. Mohammed will be also presenting, hopefully, if he can make it. His topic is assessment of the new ground-based telescopes in Sharjah Optical Observatory with exoplanet transit photometry. And I mentioned this one, lunar impact events by Sharjah Lunar Impact Observatory in 2020. Mr. Mohammed is also going to explain the first lunar flash detected from the UAE by Sharjah Lunar Impact Observatory. I think it was the first week of operation, probably the first day, if I remember correctly. We detected the lunar impact right away. It was 2020 March, 29th of March, around that. So Mr. Mohammed is going to be talking about that in Glasgow, United Kingdom, in August of this year. I'm also going to go to Spain at some point to talk about astrometric microlensing by black holes. And I'm going to specialize, I'm going to go deep into talking about stellar mass black holes more than the low mass and the high mass black holes. Also Professor Mashhoor was present in International Winter School. I think it was hosted by University of Sharjah for graduate students. It was last January. And the topic was who first introduced the heliocentric model. This is our participations. This is the winter school by Professor Mashhoor. Second one is Sharjah Lunar Impact Observatory in the Innovation Week, in the Sharjah Innovation Week, and as part of the United Arab Emirates Innovation Week. I talked about the innovation of the Sharjah Lunar Impact Observatory being one of the very few centers that just focuses directly on observing lunar impact in the Middle East and the North African region. Also, this event is this event. Also, there's another event that's going to be held in Germany in the next 10 days. It's the International Astronomical Youth Camp in St. Andreasburg in Germany. I'm going to be present, inshallah. This is the observation targets that we have. And this is like the split of days that we assign for each object or each target in the last 6 months. We spent around 25 to 30 days observing the sunspots, trying to draw a correlation between sunspots and solar activity. We spent 9 days observing the moon, craters, structure, astrophotography of the moon. 4 days on planets of the solar system. 2 days exoplanets, 10 days binary stars. Binary stars, we we perform spectroscopy and photometry for spectrophotometry, and we have a big chunk of data, and that's why I'm here. I'm trying to figure out how to basically like do data reduction, and then from that we can go on and try to analyze the data and get characteristics of the huge number of binary stars that we have and variable stars. We also spent 12 nights observing the recent supernova, spent 3 days observing asteroids, 5 days observing satellites. There's some sort of a collaboration with Spain that we were chosen as an observatory to track specific satellites and provide them with data. 7 days for separate spectroscopy and photometry, and 10 to, I would say 14 days for lunar impacts. Yeah, this is the collaboration that I mentioned with Kuwait and Bahrain Saturn Observatory that failed, unfortunately, but still we're gonna push to fix that, inshallah. And I can send you papers if anyone's interested in the paper. It's not published, but I can still send it to you. Well, I think that's no. There's one more. The last one is just about the development. We're just we used to use and initially spectroscope or spectrograph to do spectroscopy. Now we're applying the DADOS, which is supposed to be a very strong spectrograph. So that's some sort of a kind of development that we're trying to pose into the observatory. So I think that's everything I wanted to say. If anyone has any questions, anyone does, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much, Ammar. You have a question or comment?
I have a question,
Yes.
just regarding something that I have never read about concerning the lunar impact. So usually what are the things that we conclude after that? So
That's some things you can do that. So the symposium that I'm going to be a part of in the International Astronomical Union is basically called Astronomical Hazards on Earth. So we could kind of, what I've been trying to do is draw a conclusion from the frequency, the intensity of the lunar impacts, and how could that relate to life on Earth, and how could that be dangerous. I'm not there yet, but I'm still working on trying to figure out the relation between these two.
I'm asking because I have a meteorite actually that was an impact that hit the moon, that got broken out and that reached Earth. So it was one of the meteorites that I own. So it's probably directly related, but I just wanted to see it. So the type of conclusion is like some kind of correlation between the impact on the moon and how much they are correlated with that.
That's the goal. And also we have a meteorite sensor that can study the meteorite that we have. So maybe you should consider that.
Okay, yeah.
I'll see you up here on what.
We need to break it, no?
Sorry?
We need to break it.
I think they will do that. I think so.
Just to make sure the last bit, the collaboration with Spain, was it about tracking man-made satellites or these are planetary satellites?
Yes, mostly geostationary.
Like the moons.
Sorry, say again.
You're tracking moons around planets? Or
Artificial satellites.
artificial satellites.
Yeah. We've been trying to give us as much astrometric positional measurements for them, because for us, some satellites, they can't see. And they can see only from our location. So we're just being complimentary for their project.
Amazing. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Another question, comment for Ammar? Des questions, commentaires?
No? Nothing? Yeah, that's easy.
Me, I have a question.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, the question is about lunar impact. Yes, because me, I'm working also on Jupiter impact.
Okay.
Yes. What I would like to know is what is the goal? What is the goal?
The goal?
Yes, for your study of lunar impact. Because me, I am working on impact of Jupiter, and my goal is to improve the statistics in the outer solar system.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That's one of the goals. Yes, to improve this, as you said, improve the statistics, and it's also important to have an archive of all the events that we recorded, and also Maroon just mentioned that as we are in the same gravitational field as like us and the moon. So anything that hits the moon, any meteor shower that hits the moon, there's a very huge possibility that it's going to hit Earth. The difference is Earth's atmosphere is really thick, but still, I think a study like that would be very relevant to If the activity of meteorites increases, that would be an abnormality. So we could look more into that.
Okay, the other thing is also when you did an observation of lunar impact, you need to have a lot of information about the impact configuration or not.
It would be very good. It would be a strong observation. We have another observatory that recorded the observation. The first observation that we have is recorded like this, you know.
Yes, I know.
It was confirmed. So not all of them. We have at least 6, I would say, but one is confirmed and one is it was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, was published by OISA also. Yeah, it would be very strong. 2 observations at least.
Okay, nice. Thank you. And congratulations for what's achievements in the UAE.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I have one question. I see you do some animations around the people. How to do to have people interested in astronomy. So, what is your, how do you do for how do you do
I know what it is. How am I going to achieve this?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a very good question because I've been working on some sort of a project. I didn't have the time to achieve it in the past year, but I'm still pushing through that. What I want to do is have like some sort of a YouTube channel to be like a tunnel for the use, and I'm going to be explaining both languages, in Arabic and English, for it not to be a barrier for anyone. So if I explain in English, I'm going to have subtitles in Arabic. If I explain Arabic, subtitles in English. I'm going to explain very elementary astrophysics, so I'm going to gradually to other topics in astrophysics, cosmology, extragalactic astronomy. Yeah. Once I have it sorted, I'll send you the YouTube channel. So,
Thank you again. Okay, now our next segment is science.